and Lot and the Greater Exodus, number 2. Some additional information. The other day I did a video on Noah and Lot, and also showing that Judah went ahead of Israel when they were going to Egypt. Now we know from Deuteronomy 28:68 that when we do the Exodus, we go to Egypt. So Judah goes there first. And I can bring out a couple of the things as it pertains to that. But again, we know from Matthew 24:16 that those who are in Judea leave first. They're going to leave on the abomination of desolation. And as I indicated at the time, everyone else is basically going by boat, and they're going by land. So they are Lot, and we are more like Noah, because it says we go by boat. Well, Noah went by boat. There are a few other issues to pull out from that particular point. One, again, as Israel went into Egypt, Joseph, Ephraim, and Manasseh were already there. Well, we know that there are going to be those who are going to be in the same, in that area as well. They're certainly going to be members of our clans and our tribes, because again, it comes from every nation group that are in Egypt, or in Libya, Sudan, Morocco, where they're just going to head on over there because they're so close. Jordan as well, I'm sure. So there are some that are basically there. But Judah's leading the way for us getting back to Egypt. And again, everyone else, we're going to go by boat. Now, boat is defined as either one going over the water or one that flies, which I would think is an airplane. But there's some additional things I want to pull, because as you start seeing, this is going to be a factor of Lot and Noah. There's more things that you can pull from it. And one, and again, just to give us our basis, Matthew 24:37-38, or as it was in the times of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. For in those days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, up until Noah entered the ark. Luke 17:26-27 are the same as that. And then 28-30 add some additional information. It was the same in the days of Lot. People were eating and drinking, buying and selling, planting and building. But in the day Sodom left, fire and sulfur rained down from heaven and destroyed them all. It will be just as the same when the Son of Man is revealed. Now, Lot was only given 1 day notice. The angels came in, he had to leave that before, a 24-hour period was over. Genesis 19:12-15. When do those who are in Judea leave? The day they see the abomination that causes desolation, Matthew 24:16. So that's where they go. Where does Lot escape to? He flees to the mountains, stays at Zoar first, Genesis 19:17 and 19:23. Here's the part that's great for us. Take the wife, sons and daughters, and their spouses. But if their daughters are married, the husbands may stop their escape. And in fact, that did happen with Lot. Their husbands, his son-in-laws, stopped those daughters from leaving with them. And of course, they died. Again, the angel still came for them, those two angels. And again, don't look back. Genesis 19:17, she became the pillar of salt in Genesis 19:26. Now, here's an interesting thing. Did she see something she shouldn't have seen? Not just being the cities being destroyed. In other words, did she see an angelic being there, something she shouldn't have been seeing? Or was it just because of the longing of the cities, he said, listen, you've disobeyed, I'm going to get rid of you. Certainly a disobedience is a factor there. We are told to remember Lot's wife, Luke 17:32. And what did Lot's wife teach us? Not to look back. What did we hear on the Exodus? The grumbling of how things were in Egypt. So don't look back. Don't contemplate what was in the past. The city is destroyed the day they leave. So Jerusalem is destroyed the day after the abomination of desolation. Luke 17:29. We've got Zechariah 14 in there. Here's an interesting one, and this applies to us as well. Those outside the door were struck with blindness, Genesis 19:11. Now, what about us? Do others see our faith and are blind to our faith? Our families, friends, things like that? And again, they were struck right outside the door, so it's right, those outside the actual family unit. Again, Lot is the one who had sight. So outside of his particular family, everyone around him was blind. In fact, even when he went to his son-in-laws, they saw him as one that mocked. Genesis 19:14. So there's a factor of how those around us treat us. They're blind to us. Just some additional insight when you hear about the blindness, and again, for us, their blindness. Noah, he knew very well in advance what was going to happen because he had to build the ark. And he was given the exact details about a week prior, Genesis 7:4. Here's one that's an additional thing, and also will add to it a Torah command. They took food for the trip in the boat, Genesis 6:21. Now, we know that we don't get manna until we cross the Red Sea, which is 30 days later. So, up until that point in time, should we have some food for the trip in the boat? And the answer is, if you're actually going on the ship and not on an airplane, certainly. And if you're on an airplane, possibly. Because again, we've got the Torah command. If we're dealing with the Exodus and he's telling them to look at Noah, then we better have some beef jerky. I say beef jerky because it travels really, so you don't have to worry about it. Never said water for Genesis 6:21. It was just food. So is he providing water? Now again, landed in the mountains of Ararat. Now, the mountains of Ararat is an interesting thing, and I just throw this out because I like studying this kind of stuff. The mountains of Ararat, there are only two mountains of Ararat. The larger mountain and the smaller, which are right beside of each other. Now, there are some mountains in that region, about 8 miles away, and those could be mountains of Ararat, and that's possible. And I know a lot of people look to say, oh, let's find Noah's Ark. The top of Mount Ararat is a glacier. Who's to say that whatever boat was there, if it's even preserved or able to be preserved, because it's unlikely it would be, but maybe the Creator has allowed it to be preserved, but the way of doing that would put it in a glacier. And again, top of Mount Ararat is a glacier. So nobody's going to be looking through this thing of ice until it's allowed to be seen what's there. Just something to throw out, something to think about. I know people have tried to say, well, I saw this stone and this stone formation. It doesn't fit the Bible, but let's just say it's the ark. And forget about the stone formations that are, 50 feet to the right or to the left of it. This has got to be the boat. I mean, come on now, people. It's either the Bible or it's not. So I also want to add one other thing here, and this is an interesting thing. Amos 3:7, surely the sovereign Lord does nothing without revealing his plan to the servants, the prophets. And when it pertained to Lot, Genesis 18:7, and the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do? And he didn't. So there are some that will say, well, when you start looking at eschatology, end time studies, you shouldn't be dealing with that. You shouldn't look to that. Well, he's revealing these things. If he's revealing it to us, then if he's taking the time to tell us, we better take the time to listen. And there's one other thing I want to go through just briefly as it pertains to the prophets in Matthew 23. In Matthew 23, he is at the end of it, in verse 29 through 39. He's basically bringing onto the Pharisees of that generation the blood of all those before and after them because of what they're about ready to do. Matthew 23:34. Therefore I am sending you prophets and sages and teachers. Some of them you will kill and crucify, others you will flog in their synagogues and pursue them from town to town. And so upon you will come all the righteous blood that has been shed on earth, from the blood of the righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. Truly I tell you, all this will come on this generation. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those who sent you, how often have I longed to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you are not willing, bringing back the tribes. I'm wanting to bring everybody back. Look, your house is left to you desolate. What's going to happen in Zechariah 14? It's going to be desolate. For I tell you, you will not see me again until you say, blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Who is the one who comes in the name of the Lord? Who are we told about that? That's the angel that comes to get us and guide us through the Exodus. Unless I'm missing something here, it says he comes and he has the name of the Creator on his forehead. So what am I missing here?